This is one chapter from the book Mental Harmony, Its Influence on Life by Grace M. Brown, published in 1916. Vibration. There comes a time in the evolution of every human being when he longs for an insight into those things which seem to him mysterious, and when he feels that the one thing desirable is knowledge, not the knowledge that is found upon the bookshelves, but that understanding that can only be found in the warm corner of the heart. Soon he realizes that it is a sweet, plain, easy lesson, this lesson of truth, not at all mysterious, and when one comes into its understanding with the soul consciousness, rather than the thought of the mind, all this world becomes better and happier. For when you elevate yourself, you raise all men with you. There has never been a time when the desire for truth was so pronounced as it is at present, and there are few subjects in the entire study of the higher law of greater importance than this subject of vibration, because the philosophy of vibration explains the manifestations of spirit, and most truth students realize that matter is an expression of spirit caused by vibration. Vibration is the fundamental principle of all form. Through vibration, this great one substance is differentiated. Vibration is motion, forms of motion and numbers of motion. This stone at my feet has one rate and form of vibration, and this tree before me has another rate and form of vibration. The atoms of my body have one rate and form of vibration, and the atoms of my thought, which is my mind's action, have another form and rate of vibration, all based on exact mathematical law, adjusted to an exact nicety, and most perfectly poised according to mathematical law. All things in their basic principles resemble all other things. As it is on one plane, so it is on another plane, and you are perfectly safe in judging the unknown by the known, the invisible by the visible. As the anatomist can picture the whole animal by one bone, so can the student of truth picture the whole universe by a knowledge of a part, if the part that he has is founded on fact. Not long ago, a gentleman, in criticizing my work, said that I do not teach spiritual things. Now, let's see what are spiritual things. Where is the dividing line between material and spiritual things? Is it not within yourself? We are coming daily into a clearer understanding of the fact that there is no difference between what we call material and what we call spiritual substance. It is all the same. The dividing line is in our ability to perceive. If our vibration is slow and dense, naturally we can only perceive the slow and dense vibrations. As we raise our own vibrations, we come into a clearer perception of the higher vibrations of the forces of nature. Did you ever think in your study of nature and her laws how many questions come into the mind in regard to the differentiation of spirit? If all is spirit and all is the one substance, why is that lively, bustling fly such a different kind of spirit from this pencil in my hand? And why is this glass so different from the water within it? And if thoughts are things also, and consequently spirit, why is my thought a different substance from the brain, which is the instrument for the mind to act upon? Yes, there is no limit to the question, and also easily answered and so easily comprehended from the standpoint of vibration. So let us see if, in a very few words, we cannot give the fundamental principle of the law of vibration and explain some of the methods of the action of the law. This philosophy of vibration which I am giving you belongs to no special school, because it is the foundation of most of the schools of metaphysics. The trouble with the disciples of the so-called new thought is that their individual thought is so very new, they seem afraid to recognize how old their philosophy is. And having grasped one idea of truth, it seems such a marvelous thing that they not only want to patent it, but fail to analyze it and see how beautifully it harmonizes with everything else that is true. The universe is composed of atoms, and as we have seen, all these atoms are spirit, one substance, one intelligence, one life, one universal mind. This great mind moves, and its motion produces an energy, a vibration, by which, according to its form and rate, all spirit, all substance, all life is objectified and differentiated into forms. This vibration, then, is the thought or the mind action of an infinite intelligence. So, from the tiniest blade of grass to the thought of the individual mind of man, which corresponds to and in reality is one with the infinite mind, all manifestation of spirit is the result of vibration. You see, it is not difficult to comprehend. There is no mystery in it whatever. All you have to do is to think about it. Vibration is just what the literal meaning of the word implies: motion. Now, we are taught by one of the greatest disciples of truth the world has ever received its messages from, that there are 4 modes of motion necessary for the manifestation of spirit into objective life in our solar system, and we are not speculating beyond our own realm. Well do we know that if we understand ourselves and the planet on which we are having our present experiences, we have the foundation for that knowledge which is necessary for our work and development in other realms and spheres of life. This great disciple of truth tells us there are 4 modes, although myriads of rates of vibration necessary for the manifestation of spirit. The rates are lesser or greater, lower or higher, according to the divine energy which is embodied in the form. Thus, in expression of life which we call evil, the energy is so slow, so lacking, that the vibration is low, and what we call evil, all kinds of disease and inharmony, results. The first form of motion is said to be straight, the second is circular, the third is spiral, and the fourth is called vortexian, which is the motion of the planets and a combination of all the others. The spiral motion is a combination of the circular and straight, and the circular is really only the continued straight, because a continued straight line would always return to its starting point. So little is known in the Occidental world about these different forms of vibration, and so few of the students of truth consider its importance, that it is difficult to go into many details concerning it. As in so many questions where we are taking somebody else's teachings, all kinds of theories come in, and some students say that the straight motion is the vibration of the minerals and rocks, that the spiral form, the motion of the cycles, is the vibration of the vegetable world, and the vortexian motion is the vibration of the planets and what corresponds to the planetary motion in man. I rather think we shall have to progress much farther in our study of esoteric geometry before we know the forms of vibration as applied to different manifestations of spirit. But our reasoning power shows us that all manifested form is the result of divine energy expressed in the law of vibration. The important part for us to realize is that we as individuals are manifesting spirit according to our own rate of vibration, and we as individuals must stand responsible for our position in the universe. Each atom which composes this body is an atom of spirit, and as we harmonize all these atoms of the body and raise their vibrations by attracting to them divine energy, we express the perfect harmony of the whole. As the universal mind's action results in manifested form, or what is called creation, and is the thought of God, so the mind's action of the individual manifests, creates, or produces a powerful substance composed of atoms which we call thought, and which is the most subtle and powerful of any substance with which we have to deal. So you see, the mind of a human being is creative, and under proper constructive training becomes a vast power for good. Action of all kind is only solidified thought. It is the direct result of thought force or mind's action. The vibration of a human being is determined by the constructive force with which he is infilled and which is a part of himself. As long as there is even a small ray of constructive force in a man, he is a part of the infinite spirit and must in a degree vibrate with it. And isn't it a beautiful thought that it is the most difficult thing in the world for a man to eliminate the divine spark and thereby destroy himself? Swedenborg tells us that as long as there is one atom of love, which is the great constructive principle, in a soul, that it will be fanned into life by the angels, which means, of course, that it will attract its own, more of the love element from the universe. God is love. Love is the constructive force, and every manifestation of spirit is the result of that cohesive power of the constructive force of love. And vibration is the action, the motive power which produces that result. In itself it is nothing, but it is the method employed, the means to the end. Mere philosophy will never reveal the higher vibrations of life. The finer essences of nature are those that elude all philosophy and all language. The intellect alone will never comprehend the supreme intelligence. If it could, human beings would never dispute over their conceptions of God. The dear, ignorant creatures would know that a man who quarrels, no matter how highly educated he is shutting himself away from God, trying to separate himself from that which he imagines he is defending and knows so much about. A man who really believes in God is one with God, a part of him, and filled with him. And God is love. Saying you believe in God does not make it so. Words are so cheap and meaningless sometimes. A man who believes in God takes him so into his life that he becomes love itself. He realizes that all men are a part of himself, and criticism and condemnation of his fellow man is impossible. The only remedy for error and superstition is knowledge. Error is a low vibration of light and totally unfits the soul for truth. All so-called sin is ignorance, ignoring the truth. How foolish to condemn a poor ignorant man for the crime he commits when maybe you yourself are responsible for his actions. Ah, that is not a comforting thought, is it? But let us put our light of common sense on it and see if it isn't true. In the first place, we are all one. Some of us manifestly in a lower vibration of light than others, but all one in the divine intelligence. You may be polished and encrusted with your intellectual pride, and may consider yourself incapable of any action but that of the highest virtue, and you probably are, according to your own understanding. But maybe you forget that your thought is a substance, and you may not hold it in the high vibration which your surroundings would imply. Possibly you consider yourself a little better than your fellow man, and perhaps you are condemning your brother or despising your sister because their standard of morality does not agree with yours. You might even have thoughts of envy and of how much better you could manage your neighbor's millions or your friend's talent than they can. Ah, my dear, what becomes of those thoughts? Surely they are not lost. Suppose some deluded soul who is too ignorant to protect himself, who is negative in his nature, is just in the mental attitude to receive those projected thought vibrations of yours. What happens? He puts into action the hate generated by your thought. His action is your thought solidified. Your greater enlightenment teaches you repression of action. Your knowledge is not yet equal to control of the thought, but you can control the action. He is not yet wise enough to control the action. Do you see your responsibility? We are all one. It is the law. Be ye perfect is the new commandment, the new religion. Aim high. You cannot aim too high. And every round you make in climbing the ladder of understanding leads you to a higher standard of perfection. Perfection according to your understanding now, and perfection according to your greater understanding as you grow into the greater light. There are no limitations to the doctrine of perfect love. Perfect love casteth out fear. And fear is the one and only enemy of mankind. The world is divided into two great classes, those who love and those who fear. Fear is such utter darkness, and yet there are those who know no light, but what to you is darkness? The highest vibration of light is darkness, and the lowest vibration of light is darkness. Now, how can I make this clear to you? We will turn on our searchlight of reason, and we shall soon see. I am giving you a lesson this afternoon which is quite clear to you. I can tell by the way you receive it that it is light to your mental vision. Do you suppose that dear young girl over there with her pretty fluffy head full of her beauty and her ribbons and her good times would comprehend this lesson which is light to you and me? No, to her it is darkness. And where she stands, we have passed long ago. The light that surrounds her is darkness to you and me. When you are accustomed to a dark room, the light of the sun is painful to the physical eye. And when you are in the low vibration, the darkness of error, the truth is painful to the mental vision and is darkness until you become accustomed to it. Today, many things are perfectly clear and light to you that even one short year ago were dark. You've come into the higher vibration of light, and the darkness of that higher vibration is now light to you. There are two ways of working. One is from within, and the other is from without. The old idea was to work from without in, but the esoteric law teaches to work from within out. When you work from within, you work from love. The age of ruling men by fear has vanished, and the time of rule by love has come, but the old ways and customs cling most tenaciously. If you would only realize how much easier things would come to you if you didn't try so painfully hard to get them. Try the plan of relaxing. Give up, let go. Realize that you are not the most important thing in the world. If you should lay down your body today and go on to other spheres, the sun would rise just the same tomorrow morning, and the birds would sing just as sweetly. Your world is within you, and your entire concern is with yourself. Be ye perfect. Your responsibility ceases there. Do you know you cannot even conceive of a quality that you do not possess in some degree within yourself? And it rests with you whether you attract to yourself happiness or trouble, ease or disease. Many people go out of their way to look for trouble, and if that is the vibration of light to which they adjust themselves, they can have all they want of it, for it is very easy to find. As that blessed old character Eben Holden says, "Ye can go to meetin' or ye can go fishin'. It all depends on the I am within you." Yes, my dear, as I said before, the only true way of acquiring knowledge and of developing the soul is to work from within out. You cannot reform people by using hatchets on them, and you cannot terrorize them into knowledge. If you will only raise your own vibrations, you will do more to help humanity than in any other way. If you raise yourself, you raise all men to you. A truth that is truth in the year 1 is true in the year 1916. There is one person who must not be deluded, and that is yourself. And the strangest thing to me is the way people love to delude themselves. Be true to yourself, and you will be true to your fellow man. You are an individual. No other person's experience can be the same as yours. In this great oneness is an infinite variety of experience and an infinite variety of individuals, and each individual attracts the experience necessary for his evolution by exact mathematical law of vibration. You and you alone are responsible for your experience, and you alone attract your conditions and surroundings. I know it seems severe, but did I not tell you that truth demands a high price? It is the most useless thing in the world to think you are the victim of fate or circumstance. Take your conditions as you find them and master them if they are not in harmony with yourself. If you haven't sufficient strength, pray for it, breathe for it, as I told you in our last lesson. Don't let anything master you. Are you, the microcosm of the universe, not greater than any other thing in the universe? What do you suppose is the greatest barrier to the development of the soul? A barrier which is so subtle that it sometimes blinds and blunts the senses. It is selfishness. We want to be free, but we hold those we love in such bondage that we bind ourselves and limit ourselves beyond all understanding. Do you remember a sentence once spoken by the greatest teacher the world has yet known? He who loses his life gains it. I will not try to say one word in explanation of it, but ask you to concentrate upon it in the light of reason and see what it reveals. See if it does not show you that selfishness is the greatest hindrance in the world to attaining the desire of your soul. I know, my dear, you do try most earnestly to be good, but what does it mean to be good anyway? All morality is merely a matter of opinion. You tell a child to be good, and it's a meaningless phrase to him until you teach him what your version of goodness is, and then he only knows from your standpoint. A baby thinks to stop crying is to be good, and when it comes to great big babies, what do they think? That it's a great virtue and a glorious thing to go to war and murder their fellow men, but a most heinous crime for a hungry man to help himself to the millionaire's dollar without permission, if he's smart enough to get hold of it. Oh yes, we are very sensible, especially on the question of morality and virtue. What lines we do draw, and every man judges his fellow man and quite forgets whether he is living up to the real standard, providing he is living up to the standard of his particular section of the country. He who has the courage to think for himself and the heart to understand knows that the old falsities are passing away and that the higher truth, the truth of the Spirit, is gradually and steadily pervading all grades of humanity. Nature is revealing her secrets to man as never before, because he is seeking in the light of the Spirit. And oh, my friends, from the seed planted in the human heart to the seed planted in the ground, nature reveals herself to him who wills to know. So many people think because they haven't had what the world calls an education, they cannot comprehend the esoteric teachings. Dear me, what a mistake. Do you know, I am acquainted with people who have been through all the colleges they could find an excuse for entering, and then taken postgraduate courses in literature and the fine arts, who cannot comprehend the higher forces of nature sufficiently to keep from condemning their fellow man and telling fibs whenever it's convenient, thus attracting to themselves all kinds of inharmonious vibrations. Now, what is the use of masses of information about the past iniquities of mankind, or the dead languages, or ancient Greek art, if you're going through life sick and poor and unhappy because you do not comprehend nature's laws sufficiently to polarize yourself according to them and vibrate in the law of love? To be sure, to know is to have eternal life, but you must commence by knowing yourself. You must work from within out, and you must think and live in freedom. Only free men can live the truth, and as much freedom as you shut out, so much falsity do you let in. Esoteric philosophy is simply the philosophy of real things. It does away with delusion, shows the correspondence between the seen and the unseen, and the connection between so-called theories and the practical use of those theories. In the esoteric teachings, use determines all things, and when you come into a recognition of that truth, you will save much time and not waste so many opportunities. Unless I can be of use to you or you can be of use to me, what object is there in our association? Did you ever hear of a lot of women meeting together to play cards for the purpose of killing time? Killing time. Are they losing their senses when every moment of time killed reacts in disintegrating forces? No one recognizes more than I the right of every human being to think as he pleases, live as he pleases, and waste his blessed opportunities if he wishes to. But it is too bad to kill the most precious thing in the world. If you will only think, you will soon see the use in everything and turn your association into the higher vibration of use instead of the lower one of idleness and waste. If you want to keep young and healthy and wealthy and wise, you must build and utilize your forces, not scatter them. There never was a time when this dear old world was so plentifully supplied with cranks. God bless them. They bob up serenely in all manner of places, and they are so full of their special hobby and so desirous that you should see things just as they do, and how interesting they are. I met one the other day who peacefully informed me that he was the greatest man in the world, could cure any disease or misfortune in the world, and was growing younger every minute. He put me on his list for daily treatment because I'm a crank like himself and he loves me. He sends vibrations daily to people who pay him $25 and to those whom he loves. And as he makes a specialty of loving everybody in the universe and recognizing the oneness of things, I suppose you all get treated just the same as though you paid your $25. It's all right though, we need these cranks. Conservatism has to be destroyed some way. When people begin to think, they begin to squirm. When you put a seed into the ground and it begins to recognize the life force within itself, it immediately proceeds to turn around and burst. It is individualizing itself. The growing tree will shatter the rock, and the growing thought will shatter conservatism. There is one thing that we must have no matter what it costs, and that is truth. Everything has its price, and we must pay for everything we have. But for truth we pay the dearest, because it's the only thing in the world that is everlasting. You can't print anything else on your soul for keeps. All pain is delusion. It does not belong to you any longer than the necessary time for its note of warning. This high price that we must pay for truth is the renunciation of self and personality. It is living the life of reality and tearing down the barriers which we have raised by selfishness and condemnation of our brother. No one person or organization of persons has a corner on the truth. In this world to which we come for our studies of reality, truth is as free as the love which enfolds us, as free as the atmosphere surrounding the earth. In the world of delusion, however, it sometimes happens that some people get an idea that they are the only ones who are just right, and that only by going their way can the goal be reached. What goal are they trying to reach anyway? Maybe they think because they can buy a reserved seat in church, they can buy a reserved seat in heaven. Where is that mystic place called heaven, which lies in a man who rejoices that he is inside in comfort while his brother is outside in despair? Now, really, if all these dear conventional people who are so much better than their fellow men are going to heaven, wouldn't you rather be where the really interesting people are, those who dare to think, wherever that place may be? It seems a difficult truth for some people to realize that money will not buy understanding, and that a man can have nothing that does not belong to him. If you refuse to see beyond your own dooryard, it's no sign that the world does not lie beyond. And if you refuse to perceive the marvelous realities of the universe, it's no proof that they are not there for him who has the ability to see. However, it is just as well to commence at the place where we are standing and evolve into the higher. It is just as well to use our common sense and walk until you have the strength to fly. Common sense teaches you to eat when you are hungry and rest when you are weary. Become as a little child, and when you are strong enough so that you do not need food and drink and care for your body, then do without. But the chances are, when that time comes, you will do without your body. Were you ever present when a great truth was suddenly made manifest to a concourse of people? How well I remember during the World's Fair in Chicago at the Parliament of Religions, when the thought of the oneness of all things was revealed to my intelligence. A teacher from the Orient stood before us with his serene dignity, his quiet, calm voice, his perfect poise, making him such a fitting instrument for the simple yet wonderful teachings of the philosophy of daily living which he was giving us. As he closed his lecture, he used these words, "We are one." Like a flash of glorious sunshine came into the depths of my being the realization of the unity of all things. And over all that great audience came a hush, a stillness so great that it seemed the highest vibration of a great sound wave echoing again and again those marvelous words, "We are one." Not only all men, but all the atoms of this mighty universe, all one, only differing in their rate of vibration. All one. Does it not open wondrous realms of thought? Does it not reveal to us our responsibility, not only for each other, but for everything which is created? All one. There is the keynote. We are individual and we are one. We stand alone and we stand with all men. Our personality is now manifested in the higher vibration of individuality, and our relation to the eternal principle of life everlasting is oneness with it. Let us build on the rock of unity. It is such a big, strong rock. No wave of delusion can possibly wash it away. Unity is a universal harmonious law. Humanity is all one. Nature is all one, differentiated by vibratory law. As the man is the microcosm of the universe, so is the atom the microcosm of the man. Individual intelligence constitutes the atom, and individual intelligence moves the universe. Now, how can we condemn each other and how can we despise each other when our relation is so close that we are one with each other? Just look at that in the light of reason and common sense, please. You see, when you think about things, they begin to change, and the real side, the true side, begins to show. The fact is, man is the embodiment of the creative principle, and his creations are the manifestations of his thought. Now, just think of this. Every vibration sent out by the action of the mind means life or death to something. That is, it is either constructive or destructive in its effect, and the effect is frequently on the atoms of the body of the one who sends the thought. Every thought sent out embodies either love or fear. Love is construction, and fear is destruction. And all thought acts by reflex law on the sender. You see, you are the arbiter of your own destiny, the ruler of your own life, and in very truth, the creator of yourself. A human being is the greatest magnet in existence, attracting just what he gives and receiving vibrations from the universe according to the quality of life impressed upon the soul and radiated from within. Let me tell you one very useful thing to do. You know we receive so much during the hours when the objective senses are in repose. Sleep is a result of overactive life force. It is not weariness from low action, but weariness and sleepiness are the warning that the action of the life force is too high in its vibration for the instrument to assimilate. So the objective senses are locked in repose, while the subjective mind readjusts and harmonizes conditions. Don't you know that after intense excitement, either mental or physical, the body always demands sleep? And unless its demands are acceded to, the result is most inharmonious. In order to receive the best results from sleep, it is well to suggest to your higher self just what impression you wish made upon the soul. Calm yourself and raise the vibration of the mind's action by deep breathing and repeating some beautiful mantra or some song of praise to Jehovah. The whole circulation will change, and every breath you draw during the time your objective senses are locked in slumber will be life-giving and strengthening. The soul life is the great consideration. The entire object of our sojourn on this planet is to develop and educate the soul, that its vibrations may be constantly raised and constructed according to divine law. As the mind moves or vibrates, going out in the universe in search of knowledge and experience, only those experiences are retained which are imprinted upon the soul, and we reflect into objectivity those impressions, because the soul's vibrations are radiated through the physical expression, and if the body, the mind, and the soul vibrate in harmony, the effect is construction and life. Do you know that all vibrations of a spiritual nature travel on waves of magnetic force? and that by cultivating this spiritual thought, you strengthen your magnetic force? You think it is such a valuable quality, this magnetic force, and so it is. And the sure way to increase your own magnetic force by attracting this force from the universe is to live the higher life and vibrate in the law of love. Magnetism increases the life force, and there cannot be an enduring physical or mental power unless the magnetism is strong. If you wish to increase your power, purify your quality of life, and cultivate your magnetic power, you must think constructively and spiritually, and so raise your vibrations. Love is the highest vibration of a strong life force. In its higher vibration, it is construction, and in its lowest vibration, it is destruction. Just as cold is the absence of heat, so is hate the absence of love. Many of these qualities which we think are so dreadful are only the lower vibration of a force that in its higher vibration is beautiful. To illustrate, suppose your child prevaricates. Instead of condemning him for falsifying, suppose you help him raise his vibrations and realize that it is only a perverted imagination. Then purify by love that little imagination until it becomes ideality, the beautiful thing it is intended to be. If we would only be a little more charitable and send a few vibrations of love to these people who are vibrating on the lower plane, we might have geniuses instead of criminals. Again, unless there is a vibration in ourselves corresponding to the trait we condemn, it would be impossible for us to perceive the so-called evil. It is an old but true saying that it takes a thief to catch a thief. We cannot comprehend a vibration that is not in our own being, and we are all very much alike. We vibrate differently, that is all. So let us teach people a few of nature's laws, and soon the law of vibration of selfishness, which is disintegrating humanity, will be raised to the higher vibration of selflessness, and we will realize that we are in truth all one. There is only one way that earthly life can be worth living, and that is when you introduce the thought of an eternal life, an eternal progression. And the only way you can reasonably conceive of an eternal life is in the light of the law of vibration. Life is transcendently worth living when we perceive the truth of vibratory force. When we learn that law and through it vibrate in the higher law of love, the spiritual consciousness then becomes the normal life, and the spiritual and inner light reveal to us the truth. In order to produce a spiritual growth in the soul, a human being must be in harmony with himself. He must understand himself, and he must be true to himself to really understand himself. He must also love himself in the just and perfect way in order to be true to himself. Above all, never condemn yourself or have any regrets for past misdirected efforts and apparent failures. Don't be afraid to love yourself and everybody else. The more love you give, the more you receive, and the more you have to radiate. Nothing so vivifies the conditions, nothing so elevates the surroundings and the personality as vibrating in the law of love. The teacher in the East never argues. He simply says, this or that is a fact. I give you this principle of truth. Go to nature for the proof. Here are the keys of knowledge. Open the doors of your own soul and look for yourself. The teacher in the West illustrates, argues, and tries to prove his teachings. The Eastern sage is wise. Well does he know that no man can teach another. He can inspire him. He can lead him to the fountain of truth. But each human being must perceive for himself, must carve out his own pathway. It is the divine light within which must illuminate the way. So, when a new thought comes before us, let us become as little children who haven't grown too wise to love one another. Let us not condemn, but let us look at it and think about it. We may find therein life everlasting. Let us remember that today we are one day in advance of yesterday. The whole world has grown one day, and its vibrations have changed. A truth may find a resting place here today that yesterday could not have been perceived. Oh, charity! Truly, the greatest of all is charity.